Over nearly 2 years of traveling the country, we had learned about the difficulties faced by Wushu practitioners and their determination to overcome them. In a time when many people sow doubt about the usefulness of Wushu, these people stay true to the art. But what is the value of Wushu when there are no wars to fight? With this question in mind, we interviewed the Wushu scholar Zhou Weiliang.
武术在当代有什么意义？我把它归纳了3个字：技、身、心。积极的技，这是它的本，和它紧密的融在一起的是身，不是仅仅是健康，是强壮。心就指的道德，道德层面的人格塑造也好，都是通过习武提高积极能力来体现的。长期的习武过程中间，会锻炼一种坚韧不拔的毅力，吃苦耐劳的精神，他有了对社会的担当。由此技身心构成了一个基本价值体系，所以你要走向民间啊，从民间的田野调查中间去完善这一个历史。
Our team of experts recommended that we explore the master-apprentice relationship. To that end, they introduced us to a man named Liu Shangying. To meet him, we traveled to Liujisu village in Tianjin.
我下去跟他说。
那老师在地里干活了。
啊，在地里干活呢。
啊，在地里采菜呢。
是那个地里那个。
老头儿。
就是
看过吧？
就是他。
啊，没看过吧？
站起来那个。刘老师，您好，您好，您好，您好，您好，您好。刚才找了半天，让大姐他们带过来的。
是啊。
这咱们自己种的茴香。
哦，自己种的茴香。
到时候中午吃饺子，这不是来朋友。
我听您这说话，
北京的。
北京腔
啊，北京口音
啊，北京口音啊。
哦，您不是当地人？
他是北京人，我是当地人。
咱在北京300年了。
那您这现在算是在这定居的打算吗？
啊，就挨这儿待着了。教武术，教擒拿、散打。
哎呦，看我帮您拿过去，行吗？这么搁着？
Why would an old Beijinger teach Wushu in this village? Before we could ask more questions, he headed back to teach a class.
那哪儿36把小擒拿啊。
This Qinna style was passed down to Liu Shangying from his master. It used to be practiced by law enforcers in the Qing dynasty royal court.
好，停！注意看着啊，那手不要怕的，就不用看手，看他绑上一动就糊下来，绑上一动就糊下来。你看不见手，看见手就打着你了。走到跟前儿，出拳，走，人家出去就完了。
What could Liu have promised his old master to stay in the countryside and teach Wushu to these kids?
为什么教你们武术？有个别人知道，有大部分不知道。原来我的师傅啊，在冀东教了100多个徒弟，赶上抗日战争了，那武装起义了，为了祖国，为了人民，已经全牺牲了。 他的心愿是呢，把东西还回京东。年轻的时候，我可能比你们还小时候就跟我说过，这是60多年前的承诺。这才我，到蓟县把东西交给你们，明白吗？明白。好。
就当时师傅就这么一句话，就这么个嘱托，有这么重要吗？对您来说
非常重要。
怎么重要？
那承诺呀，一言九鼎啊。当一个好徒弟，把人家东西还人家，因为他的招法我就后来试验过，确实是管用。我抓一个犯罪分子，那小拿菜刀砍人，他那刀一砍啊，我就拦着。 哎，我这借这棍儿，我一看我就疯了，因为我这是拿这手交换这手，我拿着扣完了，我一定给那腕子给扣住了。所以练呢，就是保一方平安。
Liu has assisted the police making several arrests. When Sanda was established in the 80s, he was one of the first in Beijing to train it. As it would turn out, Wushu changed his life completely.
要假如我没拜他当师傅，怎么说呢？他教咱们东西，捍卫共和国。 上万弟兄的努力，120是1万多人啊！咱们学一旦国家用之计，报效国家，对外抗争那是真的。 对内呀，说为一门争胜，那已经过时了。从小跟着师傅，一直到他的晚年也跟着他。真正的武家还是真正爱国，逢人处事，都是师傅教的。
Liu's master had been gone for over 40 years. When we suggested visiting the place he had trained as a young boy, Liu lit up.
那都是土地，
是这片吗？
对，就那边。七星落地闹翻天，基本跟那树是平的。哈哈，那是64年前的事儿了。
64年。
对。 从他们一小孩儿是到一个糟老头子了，一晃就过去了。但是李清练的36把小擒拿，就在这个角楼上，4品带刀护卫，也是万里挑一的人，真才实学的东西，不是花言巧语。
Liu's sentimentality is not only due to his personal promise to his master, it's for the Wushu fighters who willingly rose up when their country needed them. After Liu returned to his village, we stayed in Beijing to visit a Baguazhang practitioner named Wang Tong. We wanted to see how masters like him interact with their apprentices.
我一下有了，我不可能再要2
简单、直接、快速是最好的。
对，说我用一个套路打人，那是不可能的，那是咱们导演安排的。
导演安排的。
往这一架练的是什么？精气神。看我，看我。
Neither Wang nor his students are professional Wushu practitioners. They only train during the weekends, and the level of the students vary greatly, so he has to take turns adjusting each of them. He says he's like a supervisor.
就一句话，啪啪，看着，啪啪，走，追，错，断了，追着我 ，OK， 停，错错错。 这儿劈，这儿劈，你劈谁呢？你老是不敢打。
你要脱了吗？万一
热了，这不是我这儿一劈，这儿一走，你看哪儿去了？所以练武术的过程，为什么我总结是看，身体不碰撞，这一辈子你也找不着。我跟他们在讲，赶紧练，我也快不行了。
没有啦。
各位来宾，各位同门师兄弟。 王彤先生收徒仪式，今天新入门的是13位弟子。师门戒律：戒以武欺人，戒恃强凌弱，戒违法行为。
This was our first time attending a traditional ceremony for accepting apprentices. It's rare to see people bow down like this in modern China.
今收弟子为八卦掌第5代门人
Wang told us that they are not bowing for any one person, but for an art that has persisted for generations, spanning more than a century. He takes his responsibilities as a master seriously and often travels to other cities to check in on his apprentices.
请大嫂早。
His new apprentices told us that his classes are fun, but also a little scary, as the old man loves nitpicking.
我们老师教我，来手一句话是保命的，不是让你在那儿玩的。他不爱听把武术当做一个玩儿。
During the grave sweeping day, Wang invited us to join them in sweeping the tombs of his predecessors. Starting with the founder Dong Haichuan, many Bagua Zhang practitioners are laid to rest here, offering rare insight into the relationships of the old masters. In the early 1980s, Wang's master Li Ziming suggested that the ruined original grave of Dong Haichuan be moved from Beijing center to the hills to the west of the city. The decision caused a stir in China's Wushu circles at the time. When Li Ziming passed away, he too was buried here.
老师、师娘，您的不孝徒弟。 来看着呢。
There we realized that when Wang says he is supervising his students, he is also making sure that the master-apprentice relationship is respected. After we finished filming, Wang insisted on taking us to Shanzhou in Hebei province. Xing Yichuan and Bagua Zhang are two tightly knit schools, and he visits his Xing Yichuan predecessors every year as well. One of them comes up often when talking with him.
李存义老先生是形意拳的脊梁。
脊梁。
脊梁。
So, who was this backbone of Xing Yichuan?
这不是，李存义顺应历史潮流，拼弃门户之见，在天津创办中华武师会，推动武术上升为国术。
Li Tunyi and the China Warriors Guild have both appeared in movies. But what was the real story behind the legend? We hoped that the next person we would visit could provide an answer.
那年，中华武师会成立。
That year was 1912, and the China Warriors Guild really did exist. However, there are no official records of it. This collection, newspaper clippings, letters, and oral accounts, was the only source we could find. What was this organization, and what kind of man was Li Zunyi? In order to learn more, we decided to meet with the main writer behind this book, Yan Bo-chun.
杨老师。
Yan Bo-chun doesn't practice martial arts himself, but his grandfather was a student of Li Zunyi's and a member of the China Warriors Guild, which is where his interest in the subject comes from.
这是大公报报道的这个天津中华武师会宗旨，本会以发展中国固有武术、振起国民尚武精神为宗旨。真正践行这个思想的一帮人，还是靠这个武术家。 像以李存义团结了一帮这个武术家。创办武术会之前，他主要的身份还是镖师，单刀里就是这个江湖对他的称呼。
Born in the countryside of Hebei province, Li Zunyi was illiterate, but he shared the secrets of Xing Yichuan orally, and his teachings were written down, put into print, and published for anyone to read. These illustrations were drawn by Yan Bo-chun's grandfather, Yan Daosheng.
武术会成立以后，开办这个讲习班，我祖父是第一班。
这就是您祖父。这是我祖父连道生。
Though it may sound like a mysterious gathering of heroes, the guild was more like a school than anything else. but the person next to Yan Daosheng stands out from his classmates. Why is he the only one to not wear white?
有个人说过一句：“全有南北，这个，国无南北。”
全有南北，国有南北嘛。
都是国家不能分裂，是吧？这个话呢，其实出自这个人之口。这个武术理念，仲贤曰：“人有南北，道无南北。”
What did this man from China's south mean by way?
进今北方见者传。
This account of the guild members describes Li Sunyi's teachings like this: the Yellow River flows, the mountains rise high. Preserve the old and pass it on, this is the eternal way. Could this be where his students' understanding of the way came from? Could there be a way to find out if these two quotes are connected? In order to find out, we traveled to Tianjin, where the guild was established. Yan Bochun brought a friend, the Tianjin literary historian Wang Zhenliang. He took us to this small museum hidden away in a residential area. China Warriors Guild was established in an iron forge just nearby.
其实有几方面的人在推动，中国人是探讨各种救国的这种途径。那么这些武术家就提出来是武术救国。
In these humble surroundings, grand ideals of using wushu to save the country took root. As the market for bodyguards diminished, wushu practitioners settled down and began accepting apprentices, giving rise to a number of similar organizations. However, one reason China Warriors Guild stood out can be found in its name and the changes that were made to it.
从这个武术会，慢慢的演变到武士会，
从武术会变成武士会，这个一字之差。
这个武术可能是强调这技艺的本身，格斗啊、技击啊，士呢已经到人的这种修为了，就是说不单单是技术了。我想这个跟当时时代的需求能联系在一起的。
Over 100 years ago, the guild issued a public statement explaining exactly which issues it meant to remedy. In recent times, our country has suffered many humiliations at the hands of foreign nations. The weakness of our institutions and our people is doubtless the greatest cause of this. In establishing this guild, gathering famous fighters, and widely promoting their skills, we hope to nourish our compatriots and turn weakness into strength. With the help of people in politics, business, and education, China Warriors Guild soon moved from Santiaoshi to the cultural and educational center of Tianjin.
它是为了普及社会教育，说当时的天津美术馆、天津博物馆都在这宫山公园里边。
However, there is no trace of the China Warriors Guild in the park today.
武士会是最早尝试在这个学校里开设这个武术课程。
It was in that park that the guild began transforming wushu into a tool for saving the nation and educating its people. The ideal of nourishing the people's spirit by training their bodies had a strong effect on a group of young and dedicated patriots at the time. And during that time, China was headed towards a major transformation. But other than a few news articles, were there really no other historical sources referencing this key moment in the establishment of a new national psyche? Together with Yan Bochun, we decided to see what we could find, and Tianjin Library granted us special access to their archives to help our search.
大公报24年，24不对啊，原件
我们是21年开始
，1921年之前的原件，您这馆藏里没有？
对，
哦，
就费劲嘛。
Although we'd been told that the archives had no records on the guild, we decided we had to see for ourselves.
中华武士会，对。
这个
也看不清。
武术的这关键词
也不多。
武术会有没有内容？
中华武术会有。
武术会是就一条还是2条是吧？
有一个会议章程啊。
武术会的，反正现在也是全面开放的这个。
武术会就可以看。对，现在已经第2楼了，一共是2卷。
没想到中华武术会档案还真的有一部分。
不是大公报那个？
那肯定不是，对。
你好。哎，好，谢谢。
内有中华武术会章程简章。
History had not been lost. As these documents were revealed to the public for the first time, it became clear that 100 years ago, China Warriors Guild was already a well-organized Wushu school that followed modern principles. This weekly schedule shows that they taught classes in dagger, spear, staff, sword, and fist techniques. What's more, there were also classes in applied fist techniques and weapon training with opponents. This is evidence that Li Tsun-yi and his contemporaries worked hard to boldly transform the traditional methods of passing on Wushu, while at the same time taking care to maintain its core as a form of combat. Develop China's native Wushu, call forth our people's martial spirit, aid the athletic development of compatriots. This was their promise to their nation. The China of today is almost unrecognizable from that of 100 years ago, but someone made these changes happen. A hidden world of Wushu practitioners formulated the key tenet of the China Warriors Guild. People are different north to south, but the way is not. Preserve the old and pass it on. This is the eternal way. In 1928, the nationalist government in Nanjing established a nationwide network of Wushu academies. The members of China Warriors Guild were among the many who joined this network, and Wushu was soon elevated to a national art. But how does the events back then affect Wushu today? We invited Professor Zhou Weiliang to learn more. Ge Changlin is a Nanjing local. His master trained at the Central Wushu Academy.
中央国术馆那个苏俊义老师就站在这个桥这里，他就指着那边说：“那儿就是原来南京中央国术馆的旧址。37年，这个日本人进攻南京的时候，他撤退了，他这个地方毁于战火。那么中央国术馆的目的就是什么？强中强国，我武器打不过你，但是我有4万5千万人口，我每一个人都会强壮，我给你打下去。”
Firm in their belief that close quarters was still important in modern warfare, the Central Wushu Academy trained a great many bayonet fighting instructors. Su Shunyi was one of them.
你刺刀这样子刺过来，我该住过你以后不要停，这个刺过去，那就跟我们武术当时拳打一样的嘛，跟过你就直接走了，根本就不需要1、2，没有1、2，就是1下，
简单实用的这些。
918。真的有种说不出的感觉。
Zhou Weiliang told us that some structures survived the bombing of Nanjing. One of them is an arena built specifically for Wushu competitions. Designed by a famous architect named Yang Yanbao, it is built in the shape of an octagon. Having been designated a national-level protected site, it was undergoing restoration work when we visited.
国术场我是用一句话叫前无古人后无来者，前面可没有范例。这个工程，它是从属于中央体育场的一部分，就一进来的主轴线过来这门口两边对称，这个是篮球。
这个是国术，这个是国术。那的主通道的两侧，对双头的最重要的3座重要建筑，2个的对景，所以非常非常的重要。如果我们能恢复回去的话，将来可能也会有很多的游客也会再重温这段历史。
When the Central Wushu Academy arranged the second national Wushu exam here in 1933, the Japanese had already taken northeast China. As war approached the capital, Zhang Zhejiang, the director of the academy, required that all examinees be tested in unarmed and armed combat.
所以张自江先生在批评一些中看不中用的技术的时候，他是非常有感触的，说你这种东西怎么去杀敌，怎么上战场。
He is frequently mentioned in historical records, mostly in relation to the Central Wushu Academy.
中央国术馆的创立，它主要是以张自江的人脉关系，联络了一大帮的党政要人。当时中央国术馆成立，出版了一本中央国术馆的会刊，在这里边就是充分体现了张自江对于武术的理解。提倡国术，练习国术，以其强身自卫，强种救国，心所愿也。
这是他的心愿。
他的心愿，就是我们练武术要为民族、为国家要有担当。
Public records show that Zhang Zhejiang was born in Cangzhou, a village noted for its wushu talents. After a career in the military, he devoted himself to promoting wushu. The outbreak of the Sino-Japanese War was doubly tragic for him, as he could neither go to the front lines to fight nor continue his work at the academy. While making this program, we discovered an application filed by the Central Wushu Academy in Chongqing to arrange a summer camp in 1943. The application says that they aim to arrange a summer camp during the summer vacation and recruit students from every grade in school, as well as other ambitious youth. The document was signed by Zhang Zhejiang.
这个培训班，你看具体的科目是和技击直接有关系的。一是擒拿，二是塞脚，就是强调了一个技击，要有血性，要有担当，要上战场杀敌，这就是他提倡武术的根本目的。
It was clear that Zhang Zhejiang hadn't given up on applying wushu in the defense of the country. Later, when we visited Zhang Zhejiang's grandson, Wan Legang, we were given yet another rarely seen piece of information.
我外祖父呢，他自己呢，在抗日战争爆发后呢，他也亲自上了前线。当时第5战区司令长官李宗仁聘请他为高等顾问。还有一位呢，到现在还活着的宋茂田先生，当时就和他一起去参加了这个台儿庄战役的。
To our surprise, Zhang Zhejiang did make it to the front line during the war against Japan. We immediately set out for Julikou village in Hebei province to meet with Song Maotian. That man might be the only person still alive to have witnessed this part of history.
报告，他们来看着来了。
宋爷爷，您好。哎呦，您不动，您不动，您身体挺好。
就这个年是102岁了，属马的，属马行。
我这儿有几张照片，您看看是您吗？
对，这是我年轻的时候的呀。我在中央国术馆3年。
3年就抗战就爆发了是吧？
7事变了。张自江带着学员学生们呢，带着50名啊，上陆战去了。皮包张自江的我给提着，到以后啊，张自江说要做一次总反攻，国术馆的学生教员。送出去， 发动的台儿庄会战。
77事变以后，最大的胜利，
最大的胜利就是台儿庄。
Song Maotian was already getting tired, but in stops and starts, he told us that he didn't return to the academy after the Battle of Taiyuan, but chose to remain in the army until the Japanese were defeated. When victory was assured, he chose
发现的这个，你看，
对对，这个培训班，你看具体的科目是和积极之间有关系的。一是擒拿，
这个事件的发生应该是在我们
在这里
这个区域，
开林在这儿，开林在这儿。
In this overview of personnel at Wushu and sports academies in China in 1988, most of the people are listed as teachers or instructors, but nearly all of them seem to have worked at institutions of higher learning. In a People's Daily article published on March of 1957, we found this paragraph. 76 years old Zhang Zhejiang says that he'd like to do something useful with his time. He would be happy to help the relevant departments research this precious part of our national inheritance and pass it on to the next generation. Leaving behind the archives, we decided to return to the present and explore how history still affects Wushu today. This remote mountain town hides a family of Wushu practitioners. The Mashi Tongbei Wuyi that they practice was established by a man named Ma Fengtu, who played a role in the founding of China Warriors Guild and the Central Wushu Academy.
不说吧啊。
Zhang Hongmo is the apprentice of one of Ma Fengtu's apprentices and the patriarch of this Wushu family. He's 83 years old, but still shows up every morning at his clinic. We had to wait for him to see his patients before we could interview him.
看您这个病人每天挺多的，就在等着您，是吧？啊。 别人对大家来说，现在练武是有用的还是？
有用的嘛，
有用的。
一人练能强什么？全家练能强国，大家练是能强国。
大家练强国。
When we entered the family courtyard, a hidden world of Wushu revealed itself to us.
仪凤堂，这专门修了这么一个。 来纪念凤图先生
这就不能忘本，
不能忘本，
不能忘根嘛。
While studying medicine in Lanzhou in 1962, Zhang Hongmo took Ma Fengtu's student Ma Yingda as his master. Later on, the rest of the family began training as well. His sons Zhang Feipeng and Zhang Feihu became professional wushu practitioners.
今天教，今天进来用，全是干事情，怎么之类，全协商，不能紧张，就该上手，走，对的。哦，去打了，用的时候啪，快得很，一手、两手、三手，这个就原当。
好快。
这是威武术，这就往外亲自教。哎，打。
所以马爷其实是除了您父亲以外，对您影响最大的。
哎，最大的。从林洪生这个给讲了。
Zhang Hongmo's children have all moved to the city, but they all return during major holidays. The family is held together not just by blood, but by a certain martial spirit.
通背释义，马凤图传，
前辈言来，
重文轻武，
产生一般阴黑附会之徒。
真正国术必不如是。
Kongzi said that men of letters should also be ready for war. An excessive focus on letters over warfare is at odds with reason and will not be permitted to last, just as hair cannot grow in the absence of skin. From China Warriors Guild to the Central Wushu Academy and Tongbei Wuyi, the love for the country is never far away. As the old man headed back to the clinic, we decided not to take up any more of his time and instead head to Lanzhou to visit his sons. Zhang Feihu works as an instructor at the biggest police college in Gansu province.
下面呢，我给大家讲一个乘胜追击动作。我现在就当对方，比如说打我右直拳打我来的时候，只要你的手这个手伸出在你的中线上，因为你快速打，啪，我直接就跨。现在注意，本身我的两个左右开掌，已经让他的肘关节受到严重的损伤。同时这个时候我纵式，马上你看，迅速把对方控制住，把对方制服的。
This movement is an adaptation of traditional wushu techniques developed by Zhang Feihu and his brother.
这个武术最大的它的特点是有积极性，也是它的根，确实应该弘扬武术，但是我觉得一定要弘扬武术真的东西，一定要是实用。我们这是真刀真枪，你如果不懂，我的生命就没了。
We arranged with Zhang Feipeng to meet at the school he teaches at to see if there were any differences between his class and his brother's. However, Zhang Feipeng didn't recommend that we film the classes at the school.
先是从武术操，
武术操是什么样的？
很简单的呀，1、2、3、4，就是这些武术操。
它是体操式的这种。
体操式的这个，缺乏武术的攻击性。 精髓的东西，就像这么一个动作，啪就这么出去。但是呢，是学校有学过的这些。
In order to show us a real wushu class, Zhang Feipeng took us to an academy that specializes in Tongbei Wuyi. Unlike his brother who trains policemen, Zhang Feipeng aims to teach correct wushu techniques to practitioners and instructors from outside of any educational institution.
看，这时候还有一个人，是吧？哎，我就闪到这边了，直接就到了，一脚给打人就这样。
您研究过李小龙的？
那研究过，他就是我的导师。
他是您的精神导师？
那是导师，那绝对是导师。他就感觉到，这实战起来是越简单的，就像这样子的，越简单的越是真的，越复杂的全是假的啊。
Zhang Feipeng's mention of Bruce Lee caught our interest.
所以您看他的电影也看了很多次。
一开始看的是新鲜，现在看李小龙，那就是集大成者。他是视武学为生命的人，
视武学为生命。
他对人生的一种理解，是一个深层次的理解。
We decided to revisit Bruce Lee.
Water also is.
While researching him, we realized that his story was much more interesting than we had imagined. However, does his influence still linger many years after his death? While researching, we learned that the Hong Kong Heritage Museum was hosting the biggest exhibition on Bruce Lee ever held. The museum was kind enough to grant us access to the grand exhibition, where we began our search for information.
Running water never grows stale, so you gotta just keep on flowing. Martial art has a very, very deep meaning as far as my life is concerned, because as an actor, as a martial artist, as a human being, all these I have learned from martial art. When I do the Chinese film, I'll try my best.
He established Jeet Kune Do, which teaches using no way as way and having no limitation as limitation. Some say that his philosophy gave birth to a martial arts fever that swept the globe. In order to test the statement, we traveled back to Beijing.
As UFC's first live event in the capital of Beijing, this is a very, very special moment for us, as well as the new generation of rising stars from China.
Multiple occasions, and still to this day in interviews, refers to Bruce Lee as the father of mixed martial arts. And that's because of not just, what he's shown on the screen, but also a lot of his philosophical interviews of what he talks about, the way and the approach to martial arts. I mean, there's a famous quote, "Be like water," for instance.
Well, Kung Fu, the best example would be a glass of water. Why? Because water is the softest substance in the world, but yet it can penetrate the hardest rock or anything, granite, you name it. Water also is insubstantial. By that I mean you cannot grasp hold of it. You cannot punch it and hurt it. So every Kung Fu man is trying to do that, to be soft like water and flexible and adapt itself to the opponent.
That's a very relevant quote for us because it is about adapting. It is about not setting yourself in one particular style and just forcing that style. It's about adapting to what your opponent is doing. It's about how to find weaknesses in your opponent's game using any types of techniques possible. And he brought that first concept to the world. And so he's referred to by Dana and all of us as the father of mixed martial arts. And I think, China should be very proud of that fact.
UFC 他们的很多选手都特别的崇拜李小龙。我想知道，李小龙先生对您有没有什么有什么影响的，包括他的介绍的理念。
其实我本人也非常喜欢李小龙，因为我觉得他的思想，他的哲学非常的好，他的理念。
应该他有一句话想起来就是，当你出拳的时候，就把拳就击到一个点上，瞬间助力，棒，就一瞬间的爆发力去打击那一个点。他们这李小龙很快。
There is the finger jab, there is the punch, there is the back fist, and then low.
From the Cadillac Arena in Beijing.
On the 24th of November 2018, the UFC Championship in Beijing featured 9 Chinese fighters, attracting a large number of local fans. As the fights were broadcast directly to the entire world from this control room, countless eyes were fixed on this octagonal arena. The UFC is the biggest and most elite professional fighting championship in the world today. Its fighters have undergone systematic and scientific training and use all kinds of styles, including Muay Thai, boxing, Taekwondo, wrestling, and Jiu-Jitsu, as well as Wushu styles such as Sanda.
Declaring the winner by TKO, Li the Leech Jingliang.
这就是 MMA， 这就是 Mixed Martial Arts， yes？ 这就是 MMA， 什么事情都有可能发生。
这个职业改变了我很多，从内心上、身体上都会有，会给你更强大的自信。你想正面过来个拳你都不怕，还有什么可怕的东西？对不对？
Yan Shana.
All 3 Chinese female fighters won their fights that night.
大家知道中国人并不弱，很强。
Song Yadong was the last Chinese fighter to enter the ring and the favorite male fighter to secure a victory for China. The team was impressed to learn that he was only 22 years old.
他这个运动会给你传播正能量，你就会每天打实战，你就会磨练你的意志，你也会挨打。这样运动会改变你，会让你积极向上，并不是会使你变坏。
Kung Fu Monkey.
MMA 任何方面我都要需要进步，因为每次比赛我都会感觉到我身上的缺点。
每项武术都有自己的缺陷，如果去真正的打 MMA 的话，并不是只是说啊中国功夫厉害，你能在全世界最大的格斗擂台上拿到金腰带，我也希望就是中国人可以做到这一点。
练精功夫，1年能强10，专家练能强10，当家练是能强过。所以我就对轻重练给再重复了一遍，
Wushu can strengthen the individual, the clan, or even the country if everyone trains. When China suffered 100 years of domestic turmoil and foreign aggression, and benevolent people searched for ways to save it, Wushu was transformed from a simple tool for violence to an instrument for strengthening the nation. Generations of Wushu people dedicated themselves to this mission. This spirit is needed again today.
中国武术是为了提高积极能力而进行的系列方法，长期的训练，最后能够达到练习者的自强不息。
The era of cold weapons is gone forever, yet Wushu, which has been forged in the fires of countless battles, small and large, still serves the purpose of fortifying the hearts of its practitioners. What kind of Wushu should be passed on to the next generation? Who should learn it, and how should it be taught? Find out in the next episode of The Hidden World of Wushu. The future